All right, so today we are going to be working on all these properties, which are based on what we call box model, because everything in CSS it always see them as a box. We work on background yesterday, so you can check the video out. But I'm going to be using the stuff here. So for example, I have this H1 and I want to give it a background color of red. So if you look at it right now, you can see that it's acting like a box, and this box have some properties on it that you can change. Some of the property here is margin, the padding, the border, the width of the box, the height of the box. All this one are related to height and weight. So the shadow of the box, how the box is going to calculate its padding along with the height and the width, because when you are using all of them together, the browser needs to know which one are you giving the one are you giving the padding or margin. Is it this box that we're going to subtract the value from, or is the entire box? So this box accent is what you are going to be using to talk about that. Again, this one too is really useful anytime you are dealing with a line there, but what's supposed to be here is a border, because that line too is useful, but the major one that you always use, it's going to be this li. So we have a border, and apart from border we have this border radius. So these are the common I have yeah, it's at the top already. So what I need to add to the list is this border radius. So border radius is missing because it's supposed to be there. Yeah, so like this. So let's start with the first one that we have there. So what is margin? Margin and padding, they are kind of related to each other. The difference between them is where they are applying the spacing. So for the margin, it apply the spacing outside the box. While the padding, we apply the spacing inside the box. That's why I'm using this background, so that you know what is outside or what is inside. So if you look at the color now, everywhere that you have this color, that's the box, and where you are seeing that color is the inside of the box. Everything that is not inside this color, they are outside of the box. So when you're not talking about the spacing inside now, if you look at this edge now, so you want to change the spacing between this letter and the edge of the box. If you look at the content, you see that it's kind of close to the edge. We don't want it to be like that. We want to give a room inside the box. So that's where the padding comes in. So this is what you'll be using now to give space inside the box, and this is what you'll be using to give space outside of the box, which is what you can use to space element from each other. So this, and you see the browser is using it by default, using it for some of the element by default, and that's why you see your H1s. You can see there is a space here, and this list is not joining with this H1. There is a space here. The same thing too when you look at paragraph, see that each one of them used to have this spacing after them and before it. So what the browser is using there by default is this margin to create a space outside of the box. So if you select the P and we give it background of this blue, you see that they are not touching each other. There is a space there. So all this spacing you are seeing here, they are outside, not inside. And what you'll be using to change it is this margin. But when you now want to do the one inside, because look at the P tag now, you see that it's jam packed with the box. We don't want it to be like that. We want to give a space inside that box. Then we're going to be using padding. But how do you do it? So this padding is your shorthand property there, which allow you to kind of change the side at once. And what I mean by that, when you are dealing with your box, there is always four side. Some of this property they deal with four side, where you have the top, you have the right, you have the bottom, and you have the left. So when you're dealing with all this property here, most especially this margin, padding, and border here, they deal with this side. So starting from the top, this is how it moves, then to the right, from there to the bottom, and then to the left. starts like a clock in a clockwise direction there. So it starts from the top, like here, and it keep moving until it gets to the left side there, like that. So how do we now specify the value? You can use the shorthand property padding, which is going to change all of them at once, or you can mention any side that you want to change. So if I only want to change the left one, we just use padding left, which means we only want to change the spacing inside the box on the left side. So here, you just apply the value that you want. Then for example, here, I want this thing to be 1 rem, which is 16 px, and once this thing is saved, as you can see now, we are now having space, but only the left side. So if I want it to be on the right, it's just to change the side to the right. So, and as you can see, it's going to give that space there. Or if it is top that I want to change, then it's only going to change the top side. Or if it is the bottom one, because I don't want there to have that small space, so I want to add extra space. And as you can see, it's going to add the stuff there like that. But I don't want to be typing all, like I want to give all of them the same value. So here now I want the same thing for the top, 1 rem. I want the same thing for the left. So I want the same thing for the left, 1 rem, because you have to type all of them. I want the same thing too for the right, 1 rem. And once you save, as you can see, it's going to apply the space inside the box. But look at what I have to type just to change the first side. So instead of you typing them one by one like this, you can use the shorthand property here, which is the padding, without specifying any side. So when are you doing this one? This one will change all of them at once based on the number of value you give to it. See that there are 4. So you can give it one value, you can give it 2, you can give it 3, or you can give it 4. So when you give it one value, this is how it works. When you give it one value, it will use that one value for all of them at once. So which means all the 4 sides now, they are going to be 2, 2, 2. When you use padding, by default, if you use one value, it will apply it on all of them. But what if I now supply 2 value like this? So what is going to happen? So the way it works here is that if you give it one value, it's going to assign the value to this side, which is 2 rem there, like that. Then it will check, do we assign value for this one? No. So it will just use whatever you have here. Do we assign value for this one too? No. Do we assign value for this one? No. So that's why it's using 2 rem that time for all of them. When you give it one value, this is where it is going to assign it first. Then it will check, do you have other value? If you don't have, then it will keep using that same value for all of them if it is one value that you supply. But now, if you supply 2 value, again, it's going to start from this first one. So it will assign this 2 to this one, the 2 rem to that top. You know, there is another value there. Then it will assign this one to this right. Then the next, you want to assign the value for the bottom and the left, but there's no value for them. So what they will do is that they will take from their opposite side. So when you give it 2 value, the first value is going to be for the top. The second value is going to be for the right. Then the other one that did not have value, they will take from their opposite. So which means the first value is for top and bottom. The second value is for right and left. Because that's how you used to distribute it. Starting from the top, then moving towards the right. Then the next value is going to be for bottom. So which means if you have 3 value now, the third one now, so here we're going to have maybe like, let me save this one first so that you can see it. As you can see, top and bottom is 2, but left and right are 4 rem. Or if you want to reduce it, but whatever you put at the second one is what it's going to use for left and right. And the first one is only going to be for top and the bottom there are like that. But what if you give it 3 value, because it can accept 3 value from you too. So this is how it moves. It always moves in that clockwise direction there. So the first one will go to the top like this. The second one will go to the right. The last one will go to the bottom. But left did not have anything. That one will still be taken from the opposite, because anyone that did not have value is to take from the opposite side here. So here, what we are saying is that our top is going to use 2 rem, left and right will use 1 rem, while the bottom will use 6 rem, like that. Once this thing is saved, you see that the bottom will have more padding than the other because we gave it the 6 rem. But what if you now supply the last one, you know the stuff already? So to just follow the same pattern there like that. So here now, the 2 is going to go for the top, 1 is going to go for the right, 6 is going to go for the bottom, while 3 will be for the left side. And once you save, you see that that's what it's going to do. So the bottom will not change, but it's only this one that will change because that's the only one we are introducing another value for there like that. So 2 rem for the top, 1 rem for the right, 6 for the bottom, and 3 for the left like this. So this is how it works with this one. So when you want to change all of them at once, you always use this one instead of going with these 4 on a different line, because since you want to change all of them at once and they are using the same value, you just give it to padding and it will do the work for you instead of you typing these 4 properties to change all of them like that. So here what we can just do is padding 1 rem, then it will use 1 rem for everything. But you know, if you give it 2 value, it will distribute it between top and bottom and left and right there. And you know that it always moves like this. So the first value is always for the top, the second value is always for the right, the third value is always for the bottom, and the last one is for the left. But what if I want to focus on only on the top and bottom? That one you are going to see later on, because we actually have something known as padding inline and padding block. But for now, I will skip all this one because it's just the same thing. The only difference is the side they are focusing on there. But let's focus on the basic one. The other one we have here is now the margin. So you know, just like what I mentioned, margin and padding, they are applying spacing, but the difference between them is where they are putting the space. So padding is doing it inside, while margin is doing it outside. So the same way you are doing with padding here, that's the same way you'll be doing with margin. The difference there is just where they are applying it. So here too we have, if you want the padding to always be at the top, you can use margin, you can use margin top. If you want it at the bottom, you mention margin bottom. But if you want to change them at once without you specifying the side too, you can use margin shorthand property. And this one too work like that padding, where you can give it 1 value or 2 value or 3 or 4 value, and it works the same way like that padding. The difference is just where they are putting the space. So instead of us using the padding now, we just change it to margin, and you see that the spacing will not be inside again, the spacing is now outside. So margin apply the spacing outside of the box, which is what you can use to space element from each other, or you can take element to meet the other one when you use negative margin, because this actually supports negative. So when you use positive for any side, it will be moving away from that side. But when you use negative, it will be going towards the side that you mentioned. And what I mean by that is it here. So for example, we're using this margin bottom and I use 1 rem. So you are increasing the space. Anytime you use positive, you are increasing that space at the bottom part. Or let me use a bigger number, maybe like 4 rem like this. You see that we are going to have more space at the bottom. But when you use negative value, it will reduce the space. It will remove space. Negative will remove space, while positive will add space. And because this thing is very important, there are some places that you want elements that are not even close to each other to come together. What do you do there? You use a negative margin to bring them close to each other there. For example, here, if I use negative 4 rem, as you can see, it will bring them together so that this thing can work the way you want it to be. As you can see now, they are now joined together because I'm using negative margin. So you can use negative or positive, but positive will always add space, while negative value will remove the space that you have there. So this is margin and padding on your element. So you can add margin and you can add padding on the any elements that you are dealing with there and like that. So you can add any element that have content inside it, you can add padding. But if the one that is not having content, you can't add padding. What you add is margin, because that one, the outside is always there. But when you're dealing with image now, you cannot add, no, image is not accepting any content from you. So you can't add padding there, but you can actually add margin to that one. So input, you can add padding, you can add margin, because you can still type inside the box. And margin will be outside and padding will be inside the box itself. I like that. Not extend though. What you can use to do is to space it from the other content, because this, can you see it's dealing outside of that box, not inside. So it doesn't affect what is inside it. It's only the outside that the margin will touch there like that. Let me add a form here because I want to use this thing for border. So here we're going to have it's not only input you can use it for, so it will work for any element. And here we have button to just log in like this. And again, we're going to have input, another input, but this one is going to be password, then save. And on the page, we should have this content here. If you look at it by default, all your inputs and button, they used to have this kind of a line around them. That line is what we call border. So the line is always around the edge of the box of the element. So when you're talking about border, this is a tiny line, or depending on the size you are using, you are going to see around the box. So this is what we call a border here. So it's always around the box. So here now you can now add or remove to the stuff to on your element. And if you look at some of the elements, that's why I'm bringing this input. They already have border around them. The same thing with the button too. Button to have that line there. But now you can customize it. And again, to look at your button, you see that this button have this round edge there. So this round edge here, what are you going to be using to do that is this border radius. So that curve around the edge of the box is border radius that you are going to use to do it. And you can increase or remove depending on the design that you are working on there. For example, here now, like this side, if you look at their input or look at their button, see that line is black here. And if you look at their own input, there is no, or this thing, there is no edge there. It's just normal four corner box like that. But if you go to some side, you see that their input is quite different from can you see this one too? See that there is that a little bit of round edge going on there like that. So it all depends on your design, but you need to know the property that you can use to change all these things anytime. Look at this one. I see that this one is more visible. That edge is more round, not that much, but you can see that it have this round edge like that. And how do you create something like that, or how do you even add this line? How do you change its color, and how do you change the type of that line and so forth like that? That's where the border comes in. So border is what you'll be using to change the line, while the edge of it, you are going to be using border radius there. So let's see. Let's go back to the page. You can do it for any element. It doesn't need to be your no, button or any element. They follow that. They have all these properties. Like this H1, if I want, I can mention this border. But this border too is a shorthand property that you can use to change uh, the border side, and at the same time some other properties you want, because when you're talking about border, there are properties related to it. And again too, it's dealing with side. We have the top, we have the right, we have the bottom, and we have the left. So this border property, you can use it to change only this, like you can use it to change all these sides at once with the property that is related to them. And what are the property you'll be changing here? We have the border width, so we have the border style, and we have the border color. These are the major property you change on your border. So we have the color. What is the color of that line? So what is the width, which means the thickness of the line? And again, what is the style of the line? So this border now, it can help you to change all of them at once. So for example here, I'm going to specify the width. After the width, I'm going to specify the style. And after the style, I'm going to specify the color. If you don't specify the color, it's going to use black by default. So here, for example, you can do 3 pixels, then solid. If you remember, we did something like this when we are dealing with that line decoration. So, and the line is going to be this yellow. So what I'm saying here is that of